The day started early and badly. The guard to my lodgings could not get the key to open the gate and fiddled endlessly with the keys. Finally, when the door opened, Akash was waiting on the other side. We shook hands, and within a few seconds he had flagged down a CNG three-wheeled taxi, and we were on our way to Sadagat Riverport. It's Friday and it's Ramadan, so the roads should be clear, he told me, as we weaved our way through rickshaws and overfull buses. But unfortunately, that means we are more likely to be hijacked, he went on in a less optimistic tone. Although still relatively young, GMB Akash is one of Asia's most rewarded photographers, and we were setting off for a day to discover the places in his hometown, Dhaka, which he regards most special. The port was buzzing with activity. Carts, vans and people all ferried various goods to the port side. We walked along the quay, stopping to photograph along the way. "Let's get up there," Akash suggested, as he pointed to a large ship docked at the end of the quay. "You can get a better sense of the river from up high." We pushed past the ticket collector and climbed the ship's metal staircases until we found ourselves perched on the top deck, overlooking the hustle of the river. Ships filled with passengers set off along the river, bringing people south to ports along the way. I checked my watch. It was not yet 8 in the morning. From the port we took a rickshaw to Sakhari Bazaar in the old city. It was monsoon, and within a few minutes of us leaving, the heavens opened. The shops along the narrow old streets were still shuttered, giving few places to hide from the thickening rain, but the warm air compensated for our damp clothes. We were hungry, so decided to take a break in a traditional Bangladeshi restaurant for rotis and dal. "I want to show you the railway station," Akash suggested, and as we finished our late breakfast and after another short rickshaw ride, we sat down at the entrance to the Grand Kumlapur station. It was quieter than I expected. Within a few minutes of shooting pictures of waiting passengers, we had befriended a small group of street children who collect paper and plastic and ply the platforms for jobs as porters. Akash, who has spent much of his career photographing the plight of working children in Bangladesh, asked them for their stories, from which we learned many had come from cities outside the capital after falling out with their parents. One showed us medicine he was given to help with the pain of a cut on his foot. I find it hard to reconcile an imagination of suffering children living on the streets with these smiling, energetic faces, but Akash's portfolio later reminded me the going is not always so easy for them. As the train pulled in, the children ran off in search of work, and we made our way into the grand lobby to marvel at the postmodern architecture. To finish the tour, Akash suggested I experience the Quran Bazaar. "It's a photographer's dream," he added, as if I was not already persuaded. We took a taxi this time, as the rain was intensifying and the streets starting to flood. I was wearing flip-flops, and in the alleyways that surrounded the market I found myself squidging through mud as we dodged the worst of the rain. Akash was right. It was a feast of colour and activity, and I found myself absorbed in my pictures, oblivious to the weather outside. Bright-coloured vegetables and fruits from all corners of the country were being traded, along with spices and multicoloured clothing. "I have one last surprise for you," Akash told me, as we stepped out of the market. "I want you to see one of my favourite communities. It's just behind this building." We walked up to a junction and crossed over to the other side, revealing a railway line along which small plastic shacks were erected just out of the reach of the trains that passed. The Karan Bazaar slum was a friendly place. One man with a large umbrella walked with Akash, who was starting to drip from the soaking rain. Again, as I had done repeatedly during my tour with Akash, I found myself rejoicing in humanity, as people living in what I can only describe as abject poverty joked and laughed, happy to welcome us to their poor but vibrant city.